All right. Well, back by unpopular demand. It's been quite a bit of time, but it's been quite a bit of time since we saw live action football. We are back with a new name, new attitude, but the same bad takes and the same mediocre jobs. Welcome to the Practice Squad pod, formerly known as the Professional Casual Fans pod. However, it's very hard to say. Even to say the acronym like PCFP is kind of hard to say. It sounds like a drug. So we figured why not just PS, even though it's probably already taken, but that's for a later show.
Oh, exactly. No, PSP is definitely taken.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh, no. That's dated anyway. Nobody uses a PSP anymore.
Yeah, no.
If you're using a PSP, you're also a pedophile. There's no in between. There's only one reason you're using that. All right, so we are back. Hopefully going to be doing like 1 or 2 shows a week for our 6 listeners, watchers in Indonesia who love watching us. Yeah. And should be a good time. So we got our first game. The gods have opened up the skies in Kansas City for Ravens Chiefs. So they've given us a little, 25-minute window instead of 5 minutes here. Yeah. So we got some time to get all of our takes in for the entire NFL season.
But we should probably start with the Chiefs and the Ravens game. So we don't take a little, just in case,
Just almost like an honorable mention. Yeah. Honorable mention, first game of the season between the 2 best teams in the league. All right, so let's get right to it then. We got Ravens, Chiefs. What are we thinking?
Doug, I'm thinking Chiefs tonight. I think there's, as you said before we started the show, they didn't play during preseason. I didn't know this going into the game. I still was picking Chiefs just because, I don't know. I think the offense, they'll have to kind of figure out things between Lamar and Derrick Henry, I feel like. I don't know. Their O-line also has some questions. It will just be like, to me, I feel like there is like a world where too many touches to share. Like there's not enough touches to share is what I'm trying to say. Is that none of them will get rolling because they're just trying to share it between them all in the backfield, basically. I don't know where this went on. I wasn't piecing together thoughts there for a second, but we ended up getting there.
That's what this first episode's the first episode back is like relearning how to ride a bike.
Yeah, and then also the defense lost the defensive coordinator to Seattle. I think that's a bigger loss than people are going to suspect. So I think they'll regress also. And I think Mahomes, hot take, they win by double digits tonight.
Wow. There we go. Starting off hot.
Yeah,
I think the preseason thing, I think you see it every year.
Yeah.
With across the league, like the first 2-3 weeks of the season have now turned into the first 2-3 weeks of the preseason because a lot of these teams are not playing any of their starters at all because they're so afraid of injury, which I get. But at the same time, it's like you play football, and like I'm of the believer of like if someone is going to get injured, and this may sound stupid, but like it's kind of gonna happen, like whether it's the first week of the preseason or the first week of the regular season, like there's a chance you're gonna get hurt. And I think it's better to get these guys some live action before they get in, even if it is like the most basic plays, basic stuff, even if it's for one drive. Just get these guys out there. I mean, you saw the Chiefs, who are back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and they have 35-year-old or 34-year-old Travis Kelce out there taking snaps in the preseason. But the Ravens, I think, kind of felt burned after J.K. Dobbins a few years ago when he got hurt in the last preseason game. And ever since then, I think John Harbaugh has been very, very hesitant to put anybody out there. But, I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. But it's one of those things where it's like, they're kind of practice can only take you so far. And as I'm not a huge believer in the preseason, but I do think there is some worth to just getting out there and kind of getting back into the feel of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Chiefs win tonight. I do think the Ravens long term are in good shape. I do think they'll win the AFC North again.
Well, we can that can be a good allude to the moving back to the
Little segue.
our season predictions there.
There we
But
go.
you
But
can
yeah,
start then with the AFC North if you got the Ravens.
that sounds good. Yeah, but yeah, I think Ravens or Chiefs tonight winning. Very excited to see how my boy Xavier Worthy does. I took him in both of my fantasy leagues, and I've got high hopes for him. I always take that one like rookie receiver. You're just like, we'll just
Yeah,
see what happens. And
I got Lamar on the bench tonight. I was nervous about tonight. I actually got Caleb playing. He's playing the Titans. So like to
yeah,
me that should be
that's a good
guaranteed
business
20
decision
at
there.
least.
Yeah. All right, so AFC North. So I say Ravens. I don't really see a real. I have a lot of questions about Joe Burrow and his arm. All offseason, all I've seen is people saying you never fully recover from this injury, no matter what. So we'll see what happens. I think they're the real legit like contender for uh the Ravens. Sorry, I'm just seeing my phone keep blowing up. um are the Browns. I think Deshaun Watson finally like regains his sea legs a little bit. I know you're giving me that look over there, but
No, you guys, this is a hot one. The Browns are the
I think the Brown with that defense, the way they played last year, they got really lucky that Joe Flacco was serviceable at the end of the year. And I do wonder what that team could have done with legitimate quarterback play in the playoffs last year. They got decent offensive weapons. We'll see what happens with Nick Chubb coming back from another just gruesome injury. How much more he has left in the tank. But yeah, I just don't see anybody who really competes with the Ravens. Their talent is still off the charts on both sides of the ball. See how Zay Flowers does in his second year. Mark Andrews is back. I think likely is another one who could really take off.
yeah.
And Derrick Henry, see how much I think being in the offense that he's in, with a decent offensive line, depending on health, I think that could really kind of add years to his career. And he's the kind of player where I don't think age is going to affect him like massively because he doesn't rely on speed. He's just running guys over. So yeah, that's what I say. I see the Ravens winning about 12 games this year, finishing first in the AFC North.
Yeah. I'm gonna basically do the opposite thing here. I'm not taking who we all think I'm gonna take. Big Steelers fan, big bias here. The bias is out against the Ravens. They're not winning the division, in my opinion. I think the Bengals are on their final leg here, where it's like this year or your window's closed, basically, because they're gonna lose the receivers. They're gonna lose Higgins. They might lose Jamar Chase. They didn't extend him this year already, so it's like, does the Brown family get stingy with their money again? They've been known to do this. So, like, to me, I think this is their final chance to make a run, and I think Joe Burrow will capitalize on it. Big question is the running game with them. Their running backs aren't the best right now, but I think if you just let Burrow sling the rock, you should win at least 10 games. I know the arm injury doesn't his arm might not be the same, might not have the same zip on the ball, but if you can locate it, you can place it on your receivers, it's going to be fine. And they're actually, I think they're going to big noise from the Bengals this year. I love a good team with 0 Super Bowls besides the Browns. Fuck the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those. It's the toughest division in football, I think, because you just have 3 or 4 good teams. Biggest question mark is yours truly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I really don't know what it fully. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you. You're good.
All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, it depends on what Russell Wilson does and/or Justin Fields. I think it's probably the most bizarre QB situation where it's like you have 2 guys you don't necessarily trust to be starters, but are both, I think, clearly starters.
Yeah.
And You know, it was mixed bag central there in the preseason.
Well, Russell's now hurt, supposedly.
Really?
Supposedly he's hurt now.
They're already making the bed here.
So we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the AFC South, though.
All right, let's do it.
Then I'll start this one. I got the pretty basic pick for the AFC South. I think I'm taking the Houston Texans because, all they did was add more talent to that offensive side of the ball that was already popping off last year with CJ Stroud leading the charge. And I think CJ's probably going to put his name up there for MVP this year. So I got the Texans winning this division. I just don't see the Colts really competing. Maybe the Jags magically come back to life, but I just don't really see those teams competing with them in their division.
Yeah, it's definitely a division that is sort of devoid of talent in a way.
Yeah.
I think the Titans, you don't really know what to expect. It depends on what kind of leap Will Levis is able to make. I do think the Jags have something. Trevor Lawrence needs to show it. They paid him big this offseason. That was a big investment, a big sign of trust in him, especially after the way he ended last year, which I did not think warranted him getting an extension. I definitely thought
he was hurt. They said.
I definitely think he needed another year to kind of show, like, all right, mate, show us that you are who we drafted.
Or who they thought we.
I think I'm going to take Houston too hesitantly.
I think sneaky Colts pick is interesting there too, just with AR coming back.
Yeah, got to see what Richardson's able to do, and can he stay healthy? Because the way he was playing last year was not sustainable.
Not the way to stay healthy, yeah.
No. So he basically took Cam Newton's style of play and said, what if I did it all the time though? So
not as big, I feel like.
What if I run between the tackles every play? So yeah, he can't be doing that. But yeah, I mean Stroud just, his ceiling is unlimited. With Stephon Diggs coming in this year, Tank Dell coming back after being shot.
Yeah.
And then Nico Collins is just absolute stud now. I think he could take another big stride this year, just with the chemistry between him and Stroud. And the addition of Joe Mixon, I think, will be big too. They will have more reliant run game. And like I said, that division is really kind of feast or famine as far as talent goes, and I think the Jags are in the clear second right now. But yeah, I think the Texans are gonna, win 11 games this year and finish in first. Yeah. I do see Jags could be a wild card team.
I got Texans as my 1 seed, though. I got them winning 13, 14 games this year.
I'm always hesitant of that sophomore slump too.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's gonna happen, but it always is a chance. But I'll stick my neck out there on this one. Moving on to the AFC East. Who do you got winning the East? I think there's a couple of teams between two teams.
There's another juggernaut. I mean, them and the AFC North. Yeah. I mean, you got just basically 8 teams that you could all argue could make a deep playoff run. I think.
Do you think the Patriots are going to be that good this year?
Or not the Patriots, 7 teams. Sorry.
Yeah, I was sad, and I was like,
yeah. Yeah, the Patriots are in a really weird position.
I think
a lot of people very high on
7.
I don't even think it's that much. They were playing their starters in the deep into the second quarter in most of their preseason games, and these third stringers on other teams were giving them a run. I'm not really I don't believe in Drake May too much. From what I saw in the preseason, it was he did some impressive things off schedule. He was able to evade tacklers, make some decent plays. But this whole thing about, and you really do, you saw it in the preseason of him being all these comparisons to Justin Herbert, all these comparisons to Josh Allen. It was very much he just looks like those guys, physically, looks like them.
Yeah.
like his arm is not nearly as strong as either one of them, and it was
No.
very prevalent on some of these throws that he doesn't have that arm strength. I think he'll be okay, but like 70% of how a quarterback turns out is like what kind of situation they're going into. And I think New England is a dumpster fire. I think Jared Mayo is a bad head coach. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think that whole thing kind of falls apart. With that being said, with the AFC East, I think the Jets win it. I think the Jets win the AFC East.
Does it?
I think as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, right? That defense is unreal, and they really didn't lose. They lost what's his name, the linebacker, to the Eagles. I'm forgetting his name. I don't know why. Huff. To the Eagles, and that's kind of a big loss. But if Hassan Reddick plays, that's a bigger way to make up for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that you have weapons out the wazoo on offense. Their offensive line was reinforced this season. They just need Tyron Smith to stay healthy, even though he's old. And you see where that goes. But I think the Jets could very easily make a deep run. But then again, both Miami and Buffalo, I think, are primed to make the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I like the Jets pick. I just get too nervous with Rodgers coming off that, and Achilles this deep into his career. I get scared of him just not being who he was in the past. He just has to be a mediocre quarterback with all the talent. But I think the Dolphins are gonna show up and be running their track meets again on pretty much all those terrible, like basically all their home games. They're gonna most of them. I feel like they're gonna win just because they play well at home. They put on a track meet, and then I haven't looked at their schedule, but I'm assuming there's teams that aren't really too good on it, and they're going to just sprint right past them too. I feel like Dolphins win this division. I think it's going to be a close one, and they'll somehow sneak out like the division win with like 11 wins.
It's just going to be a hard division to sneak out of. That's why.
Yeah.
Like.
No, I just mean like I feel like they're going to be just the inner game divisional games. Like I feel like that's where they're going to really show up.
Yeah,
mostly.
And that's what to me, it's like a prove it thing. And like last year, they could not beat good teams. And like last year, they had their big kind of measuring stick game against the Ravens and got their asses handed to them. And it's like that needs to change. And I do, Mike McDaniel, I think, is a great head coach, and we'll figure that out. But they need to figure out a way to keep it not just being like this, like high flying, like, oh, look at this. Like they need to actually there's win games that are important instead of putting up 75 on a crappy Broncos team.
Yeah, no, I think they'll get a couple wins against better teams this year. Just a couple. I think they'll beat the Bills this year finally.
Yeah. And a team that showed a lot of trust in a quarterback that hasn't really shown much.
Hey, I'm a Tua fan. I'll support. Moving on, AFC West, Chiefs. Don't need to explain that one.
Yeah, every other team. I mean, the division only really got worse. Jim Harbaugh, he's always that wild card. You never know. You got 5 years of really good football, and after that, it's over. I think the Chargers could sneak into a wild card position.
Yeah, I think the Chargers as a sneaky team.
I think Herbert's just that good, and Jim Harbaugh just knows how to win. And watch out for Blake Corum to have a big year. I think he could actually be a legit. But yeah, other than that, Raiders are, I think, just plummeting to the darkness. I think
Minshew will get you 1 or 2 wins.
He'll get the crowd going, especially out there in Vegas. I think he was born to be a Raider. But I think Devontae Adams is a Jet by the trade deadline. I think, Chargers could be good. And then the Broncos, they're really building up the Bo Nix train. But, I mean, it's,
That one's beating the Chiefs. No one's beating the Chiefs in
No.
my opinion. Like you might get them once, but they're gonna go like either 5-1 or 4-2 in the division and take it. I feel like
they only got better too. I mean, their receivers now. I mean, the speed on that team with Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Hardman, like they just really just stacked up. All right, what do we got next? Are we on to the NFC now?
Yeah, NFC North. I'm gonna take a shocker here. Big shocker. Big shocker. Bears. Bears to win the NFC North. I'm on the train for Caleb Williams.
Man's watching.
It's just such a talent. The team has only to me, they've had 2 solid off seasons in a row where they've added talent. And this year, adding talent all on that offense to help out Caleb Williams when he joins the team. Like, I just don't see a way where they're a bad team. Like, I see them winning at least 10 games. And I think they'll get a couple against I think they'll beat the Lions once and probably the Packers once, in my opinion. Finally take ownership back from the Packers. Now, I don't see them going anywhere in the playoffs. Heads up. My Super Bowl runner-up is the Packers. I think eventually the Packers get down the line, beat them in the playoffs, probably most likely in like the round 1 or something.
Did you watch any of Hard Knocks this season?
No, I have seen clips though.
Yeah, it looks like they're all very high on Caleb Williams. Yeah. They he did pretty well.
I think Hard Knocks is all propaganda. They're never going to show you really anything bad.
The off-season one with the Giants was really cool, where it was like covering free agency and the draft and all that. But yeah, the Bears on paper made some of the most incredible moves last year when it comes to trades. Trading that first overall pick and basically getting Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze for it is unbelievable. And honestly, the Panthers should be forced. David Tepper should be forced to sell that team for what went down for Bryce Young.
It is not good.
No. And I don't know how much of a believer I am in Caleb Williams just yet. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing with these guys, like these off-schedule plays, and like that's what I know he was known best for, is like these kind of miraculous sort of like going off to the side. He does incredible accuracy for on the run, but I need to see that like doing it like on a regular basis, doing like the routine plays that you need to make.
Yeah.
The team already had a decent amount of talent. Like I think it does fly under the radar. They were like that close from being a playoff team if Fields doesn't get hurt. I just don't know if I believe in Eberflus as a head coach. I thought that was very strange.
The biggest question is the coaching.
Yeah. Very strange that they kept him.
Talent can sometimes take coaching further than it deserves. Look at
for sure. That Caleb Williams, to me, I could see if they start off slow. I don't know if he's the kind of leader who can overcome that. I don't know if he's the guy who can do that. Now, he could completely make me eat my words here, but there is a certain amount of, I feel like, professionalism that you need to be an NFL quarterback and a maturity. And I'm not sure, like, everything's, fun and sunshine and daisies right now. It's the preseason. They look great. They went undefeated. Like, it's like everybody's so happy. But when things really go down and, you start losing games.
Remember, Kenny Pickett went undefeated and that's a bad freeze.
Yeah. And it's, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. Definitely has the talent. You just got to, see what happens. I think that's another division that's very loaded. Challenging. Yeah. And I think Detroit's going to take it. I think after what happened last year and the way Dan Campbell is, I think they come back with a vengeance. And I think a low-key weapon on the Lions is Jameson Williams. Hasn't really gotten his chance to shine yet. He was a first-round pick, and by many he was regarded as maybe the top receiver in that draft. Yeah. So if he's able to figure out a way to get it going and they still have St. Brown too, like that offense is good luck. And the Packers. I think the Packers take another step. I think Jordan Love is ridiculous. Like the throws he's able to make. That Cowboys game was unbelievable. I mean, he was hitting wide open targets, but My apologies. I'm getting over a cold here.
You're good.
But I think that team and Matt LaFleur, really has something to prove, and I think he was vindicated last year as far as everybody giving Rodgers the credit for his success. And yeah, I think they were a really young team last year, youngest team in the league. And this year they're all, kind of cut their teeth a little bit. And I think they're a wild card team. And I think they just barely, I think there's like a late season matchup between them and the Lions that decides that division. But I think the Lions win it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the NFC South then. This one of the weakest divisions in football, really. So I'll let you
Kirk knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the Vikings in the last division, but they already lost McCarthy for the year, so it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. That team is like, Jay Jettis hopefully becomes a Steeler.
Yeah. Congrats on the bag, Jay Jettis. Another guy got his bag.
Yeah.
All right. NFC South.
South. I feel like you're gonna have the same pick as me too. I'm going with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I think that team has been loaded for the past 3 years and just hasn't had a quarterback to throw the fucking ball. It's like they're like the Steelers of the NFC, I feel like. It's like their defense is pretty solid. Sleeper secondary. No one gives that secondary enough credit, I feel like, with A.J. Terrell and them. And now Jesse Bates is there too.
Yeah. He was there last year.
He was there last year. My bad. But I just think Kirk being there, he's gonna finally be able to distribute the ball to Kyle Pitts as he's done his whole career. Kirk Cousins, Vernon Davis in Washington,
Jordan Reed,
T.J. Hawkinson, Kyle Rudolph, all of them have flourished under Kirk Cousins. I think Kyle Pitts will finally have that breakout season we've been looking for the past couple of years.
And Drake London too, hopefully.
Yeah, Drake London too.
Another guy I took a chance on in the second round of my one fantasy league. I was like, all right, Kirk, come on, baby, do your magic.
And then Bijan will finally be the one. He'll finally be the only back, and hopefully
that screen game could be dangerous if they utilize it correctly.
So that's I choose the Falcons. I choose you, Falcon.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This is a weird division. Saints are kind of stuck in limbo. I feel like they need to they're kind of still hanging on to like the Sean Payton days, like by, hanging on to a lot of his coaching staff. And, it's okay to just admit like, okay, we need to restart and, running it back again with Derek Carr. I mean, signs are bad when I think there's excitement that maybe they'll play Spencer Rattler. And that's like, maybe that's not the greatest way to go into a year. And they just make weird signings, signing Chase Young, who obviously former Commander, former Niner. All he does is underwhelm. But, it's just kind of a weird team. Buccaneers kind of on the same boat a little bit, still sort of riding those glory days, still have a lot of talent on offense. I do believe in Baker as, Baker got like a semi bag. Baker got like a, we trust you. Go out there and kind of do what you did last year bag.
Yeah. And just keep us at 9-8. That's all we need in this division.
Exactly. Ride the lightning. And, but yeah, I mean, Atlanta, if on paper translates to the field, it really shouldn't be close. And Kirk, if he's able to recover from this injury fully, like that, they should be able to take this division fairly easily. That defense, like you said, is a lot better than people think it is. And yeah, just excited to see what they're able to do with all those weapons. So yeah, I'm taking the Falcons too. I'm going to say they get about 11 wins.
Yeah, I like that. 11, 12 wins. I like that number. Especially if they're going 6-0 in their division, which I could see, or 5-1. Like they might lose to the Bucs once, but besides that, I don't really see them losing to their division. If Kirk can if the injury really doesn't impact him that much.
Yeah.
But let's move on to your team's division, where the Commanders lie, the NFC East.
NFC East. Got to be one of the most interesting. I'd say you have divisions that are the strongest, right? Like I said, you look at the AFC North, look at the AFC East, and then you look at a division like the NFC North. And then you had the most interesting division, the NFC East, where you have 3 teams, right? Really 2 teams in the Eagles and the Cowboys, who you are used to saying are like they're contenders. Like if everything goes right, they are Super Bowl contenders. However, I think people are trying to memory hole how that season ended for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
people are trying to memory hole how much of a dumpster fire Nick Sirianni was at the end of that year. And they brought in 2 veteran coordinators in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. And that was not a Nick Sirianni hire. That was not a vote of trust in him. That was saying, we need 2 guys who could take over if this thing goes south again. We need somebody to monitor him and make sure that he's not going to lose the ship like he did last year. I've never seen a team fall off like they did last year. So that's my way of saying, I think number 1, Eagles Packers tomorrow night. I'm picking the Packers. Number 2, I think that there's so many names on that team. Trading for Jahan Dotson. They go out and they get Cooper DeJean in the draft. Everybody was all crazy about white corner. Gotta love it. And they just go out and get a bunch of names. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon. They get Saquon. Everybody's like, Saquon's going to be like Christian McCaffrey was for the Niners. But Saquon doesn't have Kyle Shanahan. That's the key there. I don't think Kellen Moore is exactly Kyle Shanahan. Nick Sirianni is definitely not Kyle Shanahan.
Definitely not.
I see this thing falling at the first sign of any kind of adversity. So the Eagles I put as not making the playoffs. I think they win 7 games.
Damn.
The Cowboys, a team that almost feels like they're in. You ever seen the last Pirates of the Caribbean? Yeah. When Lord Norrington or whatever his name is like walking on that boat and everything, the ship's just getting absolutely destroyed around him. That's the Cowboys right now. They lost in such devastating fashion that Jerry Jones has gone catatonic. He kept Mike McCarthy for some reason. They lose Dan Quinn to the Commanders. And they don't sign anybody except for Zeke. And it's like, how exactly are they? They still haven't extended Dak. They're a team stuck in their middleman hell. Like they have no idea what they're doing. And the Giants are trash. Going with Daniel Jones again this year. If you watch that Hard Knocks, it was very clear Joe Shane did not want to roll with Danny Dimes for this upcoming season. See what Malik Neighbors is able to do, but they're just kind of like a good for you. Go out and have a fun season, Giants. Now the Commanders.
Kickoff just started.
I know. I see it. Here we go.
Just
I hear
for
my
the
family down
fans
there.
listening, I do listen.
Should we wait here first play?
Yeah, first play. Let's see what Lamar Jackson does here in the
run to Henry
action. Give it to him.
A whopping 2-yard carry.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, I'll quit this rant. I'm going on this rant about this whole thing. But Commanders, Jaden Daniels, a guy who's done exactly what you like to see from a rookie quarterback. He is doing things on schedule. He's following the offense. He knows the offense. They made moves to make that offensive line better. I'm not saying I think the Commanders win this division. They're still very thin when it comes to depth. But they've got good coaching. I'm very excited to see Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator. I'm excited to see Joe Witt Jr. and what he's able to do with that defense. You got to love when a defensive coordinator says, we are going to arrive in a violent fashion. That's his motto. And I like that. The defense does have talent at certain areas. I think they're a wild card team. I do, after I trash the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys win this division, but I think they win it with like 9 wins. But the team on the up and up, and we will end this season looking and saying the Commanders are the team of the future in the NFC East. Because Jaden Daniels, I think, will have a C.J. Stroud-like year. And I think that as long as he doesn't get hurt, he's one of those kind of guys. John Keim, who's a beat reporter for the Commanders, basically said he sees him as somebody who he doesn't see how he does fail in a big way this year, just with how well he's done in training camp and everything, that he's at least going to be decent.
I like the outlook for the Commanders this year. I don't have them quite slipping into the playoffs yet, but I do have them hovering around that 500 number. I just think it's a little too early. to push them all the way in there. And I am a little terrified because Jaden Daniels has that RG3 build to him. And that that terrifies me that he's in Washington too now. And I'm like, oh,
But the
let's not have
difference
that.
is with RG3, his main thing was the athleticism. And
Yeah.
all you hear about with Jaden Daniels is you hear about how smart he is. He
Yeah.
makes the right decision, the arm strength, his pocket poise. The last thing you hear about is his athleticism and his speed, which is insane.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me excited. He is slim. He needs to
Yeah,
figure
no,
out a way
that's
not to
the
take
only
big
worry.
hits.
The slimness of him. I'm like, oh, and that weird
Yeah.
photo of his arm. I was like, ew.
Yeah, the elbow looks like a fucking piece of slime or something.
Yeah, but no, I do think you are on the up and up. But I also think the Eagles, everyone's memory hole, and as you said, I said this earlier on my show on the radio here that the Eagles, I feel like they're gonna regress a little bit. I think the veteran coaches give them enough to stable shit where they are above 500 at like 9-8 or 10-7, but they barely make it in. I don't see them making really a run again this year. Even with all that talent, I just don't trust Sirianni enough after last year, and even Hurts. Like last year was really shocking to see him just fold too. Like he's good players can overcome bad coaching is how I believe, honestly. So it just was shocking to see them fall off. I also have the Cowboys. The one thing that scares me, I heard this stat today, like no one, like going back to back division winners in the NFC East hasn't happened in a while or
It's like
something like
20
that.
years or something like
Yeah,
that. Something
so
crazy.
so that is my only worry with taking the Cowboys, but streak's got to end eventually. I watched the Undertaker streak end and my heart broke. So this time,
Everything. Streaks are meant to die.
Yeah, so this time the Cowboys will break the back-to-back title streak and get it done this year. They just got so much talent. Even if they didn't sign anyone special this offseason, I mean, CD Lamb, Micah Parsons, they got stars. And I feel like every level you look at, you got a star O-line, top 10 quarterback, I would say, in the league, probably just in that
In a
system.
contract year.
Yeah.
Maybe
10.
that's their motivation. Maybe they're like, we're not giving him that contract. Let's see what he does.
Star wide receiver, star rusher, star cornerbacks. Like it's just, I guess they wear a star for a reason, but I got the Cowboys winning.
Will be interesting to see the running game because I think they got like
that's
Dowdle
the big question.
as their starter and Zeke. Like it's like, all right, I guess we'll everybody get home safe. All right, let's move to the AFC West, and then we will log off.
NFC West.
NFC West, sorry.
49ers for me. All pros everywhere. It's just pretty ridiculous the lineup they have. They're kind of like the Cowboys. You look everywhere on their lineup, there's a star. Besides, everyone still has questions about quarterback somewhat with Brock Purdy. Over all the questions with Brock Purdy, I think he's pretty legit. I mean, he might be a system quarterback, but I also believe Tom Brady was a system quarterback. If you find the right system and it works for you, I'm not going to knock you. So I got the Niners winning this division pretty handily. I don't really see enough talent on the other teams to really make a push. Maybe Seattle, but I don't see them getting over the hump this year.
Yeah, Niners had a really good offseason in regards to making sure that their guys were kept happy. You know, it looked pretty hairy there for a second with Ayuk. Looked like he was going to be a Steeler there for legitimately like an hour there. It looked like there was a good chance.
I know, dog. I was so pissed. I was lied to.
And then there was a chance he was a Commander too. He really was making it known he wanted to come to the Commanders. But it turned out it was all smokescreen. It was all part of the negotiation games. And ultimately he is a Niner for a while now. But keeping him in-house is very important, I think, for them, especially after Parasol got shot. Thank God he got shot in the chest and he's all right.
I know, that's wild. And he was walking like right after. Did you see the video of him walking to like the ambulance and all?
It's crazy.
It was
crazy
wild.
Toughness. And obviously Debo, Christian McCaffrey, they're just running it back. And yeah, I think this team, and they restructured for Trent Williams to keep him happy too. So yeah, I think they win this division. I think the Rams have a little bit of a fall off from last year's sort of like crazy run to the playoffs. I don't know if they're a playoff team, but I do think they are good enough to compete. Seattle, We'll see what happens with a rookie head coach. And who am I missing? Who's the last? Arizona. Arizona could be. I think they play that role again of being like a feisty little team. Yeah. And they could make a.
That's all I think about
rock,
when I hear Arizona.
Rock. But they said they were, last year when Kyler was playing, like they were in a lot of games.
Even with Dobbs. Dobbs beat my greatest take of all time. Dobbs beat the Cowboys.
Everybody remembers where they were when Cole Dennis said that Josh Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals were going to take down the Dallas Cowboys.
I like hot takes. They don't work most of the time, but every now and then you get a fucking steamer.
But that's why you got to do them. You throw enough shit against the wall. Yeah. All right. Should we call it a night at 40 minutes and 38 seconds?
Yeah, we could call it.
First episode as the practice.
We'll be running it back tomorrow for
tomorrow or Saturday. I'm going to the Orioles game tomorrow, so most likely Saturday.
Should we then say our Packers? We both said you said Packers earlier. I
got Packers. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We will see you guys again. Remember, no longer the professional casual fans. We are now the practice squad. We're just happy to be here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.